April 24th, 2001. This is a live program on April 24th, 2001. We'll be taking calls, 334-3000. Give us a call in here. We have a special tape this weekend by a special high school wrestling friend of ours. Was up at the Eastern Mawa tournament at East Stroudsburg. Brought a bunch of tape back for us to watch here for the next good, nice half hour we got. We'll be taking calls. We got plenty of action of as many locals as our correspondent could get. Without any further ado, guys, why don't we just roll the tape for a while. We're also would like to take calls if you're calling from the Stroudsburg, Spring Grove, let's see, Stroudsburg. There's Charlie Wall from Littlestown, who that was his preliminary bout where he took it on the chin there, about 12-0. That was his guy that I believe went on to beat him. This is, I believe, Brady Farley of Bermudian. This is, he's a Bantam. He pinned his first opponent. Bantam would mean he looks to me to be about eight years old right now. So Bradley Farley from Bermudian really got a good shot in there, as we say. This tournament runs the gamut of the ages, from midgets, bantams, midgets, intermediates, juniors, advanced, elites, which then advanced and elites are basically your varsity wrestler. And there's Brady Farley, Bermudian, taking the win, getting the pin in the preliminary rounds in the bantamweight class. Now we move up a little bit here. Some of the locals will recognize Mike Anderson from Littlestown. He wrestled in the advance. This is a quarterfinal match. Mike in the USA singlet there. Wrestled 103 and at the end of the season 112 for Littlestown High this past season as a freshman. He's wrestling, I believe, 95 pounds in the advance. Now the advance, he's on the older end of the age group of the advance. I believe he would be 14, and the age group for advance is 13, 14. Anything above that is elite, or maybe it's 14, 15. If I'm wrong in that, give us a call in here, 334-3000. Talking high school wrestling from the Eastern Mawa Championships. That's Mike Anderson from Littlestown, wrestling in the advanced weight class. And his opponent, didn't quite get his name, don't know his opponent, but Mike put up a gallant effort. Now you have to remember, to be at this tournament, you had to qualify in the top 4 in a regional tournament somewhere around this spring. Mike, I know, qualified in Shamokin. Okay, we got a, we'll be taking a call in just a second. Mike qualified in Shamokin, some others were qualified in other areas. Go ahead, you're on ACTV, High School Wrestling.
Hello, Keith.
Hey, how you doing?
This is Wayne.
Hey, Wayne, how you doing? Now, folks, I just want to let y'all know Wayne was the gentleman who was kind enough to shoot this footage for us that we're watching right now. Wayne, how was the tournament up there at East Stroudsburg?
It was awesome. I've seen some outstanding wrestling. I was a little worried, or a lot of people were thinking that some of the competition wouldn't be there since the Ohio Tournament of Champions was held on the same day. But comparing it to last year, it didn't drop any in the quality of wrestling, that's for sure.
Well, I reviewed the Ohio Champions. That really was, it seemed to me be more of an East-West, almost an East-West split. There was a lot of the good Western wrestlers that you would recognize from the States in the advanced and elite, at least, divisions. Were out in Ohio, and there was quite a few Pennsylvania. They did well. They didn't dominate that tournament. And this Eastern tournament, at least the one that you're up in East Stroudsburg, seemed to be more of an East, like New York State, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, some Maryland, probably dominated more by New Jersey and Pennsylvania.
Yes, absolutely. I wanted to point out something about Mike Anderson, who we're watching right now. He is actually in the younger of the age group at this division that he's in.
Okay.
So this was quite an accomplishment that he had a huge win or two in the tournament. I don't think he placed at the end, but it was just to go in as one of the younger in the age group is just outstanding, and I just wanted to point that out.
Now you mentioned younger in the age group, so I'm sure that then this age group's 14, 15. The next age group would be 16, 17, which basically I noticed the advance were anyone who basically wrestled was a freshman this year, and some sophomores that were young on the sophomore side, and then your elites were your juniors and seniors for next year,
Yeah.
and some seniors of this year that were competing, right?
Yeah, I believe you're right.
Because I saw that Dwayne Bastris from Bermudian, as well as Brian Baglio and Scott Sehar from Central Dolphin, they all qualified for this, I guess, another tournament that's in Florida.
Yes, the elite division, the top two were invited to go to some sort of national tournament in Florida.
So that's kind of interesting. Being, I know that in the Orlando area, they actually are recruiting sporting events, to draw just like these large events. Now, you mentioned to me when you gave me this tape that there was 14 mats in this room going on at one time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me how do you really keep track of 14 mats if you have, say, even 2 wrestlers, and I know that you helped out a lot more up there. All over the place. I mean, just give me some of the logistics about that.
It was extremely tough. Of course, it was packed, and I wanted to get quite a few boys on tape, including I wanted to get Eric Allwine from Southwest, and wanted to get Tyler Reeves from Northern, and of course he won it at heavyweight. I was hoping to get Baglio on tape. I did get a couple good kids on tape, like Bastris and Matt Kelly from Susquehannock.
And Jason Holler.
And Jason Holler and Chris, let me hope I say this right,
Pomeranian.
Yes, Pomeranian. I did manage to get them on tape, but there was a lot of quality District 3 wrestlers there that I was hoping to, but just moving around and getting to the mat, the one thing I was disappointed with is they didn't announce the mat number when they called out each bout number, and it made for a tough job of taping.
Oh, I could imagine. It was, I did a lot of the taping up for Hershey for the show and stuff, and that's just keeping track of all the local kids with 4 mats, and they get, you had a lot of access back and forth, but I mean, it was still 4 mats. And you're like, oh no, I got to, it's like, oh, I got a minute, I got a second, I can do this, but then suddenly you got to run down there. And I know you were coaching as well, helping out the other kids, which is really at a tournament at this level, folks, with that many people, you're as a parent, you're with your child and stuff, but even if you're not, you're just trying to keep track of them, making sure they're there. They haven't wandered off somewhere is a task, believe me, I would think.
Yeah, and of course a parent's worst fear is somehow your boy missing his match. So
yeah.
It got hectic at times.
Now, Wayne, just to let everybody know, we're watching Jason Holler of the Red Line right now. I recognize him by his, and I'm not going to glorify this, but his tattoo on his one arm. I saw that he had that last spring or last summer or in November when I saw him. Now I saw him in November, and I saw him once or twice during the season, and he is definitely I think going to be a really solid wrestler next year, almost the one to beat at his whatever weight class he goes, 35, 40, 45. Now, he won this tournament as well, I believe. At that level, now he wasn't even a district champ, so obviously there's a lot of kids that aren't wrestling in this tournament.
Oh yeah, but I've seen quite a few PIAA state place winners either not win, and I know one or so that I don't know if they even placed or not that were in this tournament. A lot of kids are, I guess, some are close to mid-season form, some maybe aren't, but Jason Holler here, I agree with you. I was totally impressed with him. I can't remember, I spoke to one of the boys, and one of them said they weren't real happy with how they wrestled. And I seem to think it might have been Jason, and I thought to myself afterwards, if that's the case, he's got a real bright future.
Yeah. Well, of course, and if everybody hadn't kept up, in the Jason qualified for states. He finished third in the district, and actually, when his two state matches, he lost to Brandon Gano, was his last match, 2-0. And I believe a little controversy whether or not he either got 2 points or the other guy got 2 points in the overtime. And Brandon Gano went on to place in the top 5, I'm pretty sure, in his weight class. So as a freshman, 35 and 4 or 35 and 5, his final record, very impressive. And he's a lot of people either questioned some of his competition, like, how could he beat you? But I think really legitimately he was a solid wrestler. And this title now over the spring and summer, showing that he's already thinking next year.
Yeah, well, I can expect big things from him next year for sure. Along with a lot of the other wrestlers, District 3 wrestlers, that District 3 was represented real well in this tournament, and I was impressed. I personally think District 3 is up and coming to join like the District 11 powerhouses, and I think I have that right. Is that District 11 that's the powerhouse?
Well, a lot of people are touting District 3 now as the number 3 district in the state, or at least up and coming, soon to be the number 3 district. In the double A small school competition, whereas I think double A District 3, District 11, that was an even. If you look over, they took more people, they took less people to regionals, but we had more medalists overall. And really, if you look at a lot of the individual matches, District 11, District 3, at that regional double A level this past year, it was no doom and gloom. The doom and gloom that some people were saying definitely wasn't, there was no doom and gloom there as far as I was concerned, because I think we held our own. Now in the triple A level, your District 7, District 11 are still the top 2 districts. And I would say this past year, District 1 was probably overall a better triple A, with 3 finalists and I believe two other place winners. To District 3's just a couple of top 2 or 3 place winners. So, but District 3, I agree with you, is on the rise. And even and just to let our audience know, Wayne also was out at the junior states in Johnstown. So not only was he at this large tournament at East Stroudsburg, you're also at Johnstown. Fill us in a little bit about the junior states, which I understand is more of a Western Pennsylvania organization.
Well, I'm glad you asked about it, because the Junior Olympics or Pennsylvania State Tournament, for some reason, is not represented very heavily from what we consider as District 3, Adams, York County areas, and the other areas, especially Philadelphia and Pittsburgh areas, they flock to this tournament. And after going this year, I can see why. It was probably the most organized, well put together, do more for the kids tournament I've ever been to, and I was totally impressed and hope to be able to go back every year. And I encourage anyone from this area to do the Junior Olympics next year. It's just a first-class tournament all the way, especially at Johnstown, where they treat the kids like gold, and whether you're placed or won or not, it was outstanding.
Well, I did check the Junior Olympic site, and read about the past champions and the champions. They have really a lot of their names are out there. They have all the results from this year, past years. You can see the shots. I mean, I saw, and you see names of kids that are there in March this past couple of years. If you look back far enough, you see kids who were state champions this year in that group, that were in the oldest groups of that Junior Olympics. Not to mention, if you go back far enough and really look at some of the names, you see that they followed through that all those years. I wanted to ask you, where did your son Corey qualify for the Junior Olympic tournament?
He qualified at Elko, the Elko school.
And there are a series of tournaments around the area that everybody qualified for, or in like more than one area, or was that the tournament to go to qualify to go to the state tournament?
That's the tournament. Actually, they divide the state up into 11 areas, and our area is considered Area 9, and their regional tournament is at Elko. And because of the lack of kids from our area participating, we move right into the regional tournament. Most of the other areas have like qualifier tournaments to get to the regionals, and so it's something that really shouldn't be, because this is one of the toughest wrestling areas around here, and it would be great to see more wrestlers get out there.
And that regional tournament was where?
Elko.
Oh, that was in the Elko. That was a regional tournament.
Yeah, Eastern Lebanon.
Okay, I understand. And now to tell our audience, Wayne's son Corey qualified at the 10 and under age group, if I'm correct, and won a state championship at that Junior Olympics this past spring, right?
Yes, he did. We were real proud of him.
Yeah, and you should be, because again, I went over and reviewed the results of the past years, and there's a lot of boys that are wrestling in March this past year that were either junior champions or somewhere along there. Their names were on that website. So, and that's kind of interesting if for those of you that you want to surf those areas, and look on that, and if you're interested, like I am. Well, enough of that. Hey Wayne, I really want to thank you for shooting the footage for us and giving us this report on everybody that went up to East Stroudsburg. Do you think of anyone else that from locally that we missed, or?
Well, I wanted to shoot Zach Schaefer from Northern. I heard he had a great tournament, and I know a lot of local boys that I haven't mentioned yet. The Seahar boys, I think they're from
Central Dauphin.
Of course, some of the younger kids like Ricky Chameleon, I thought he did well. I thought Noah Gladfelder, I think he did pretty good. He's from
the Glen Rock and Susquehannock area. I got word on that he was in the intermediate 70-pound group.
Yeah, and it was just a lot of. I can't mention enough kids that impressed me that were local kids that just can't say enough.
Well, it's good to hear that the local contingent was well represented in all across the Adelphia area, viewing area basically, and the Adams County community television, high school wrestling area and stuff. And again, I want to thank you for giving us a call, Wayne. I'll talk to you later. Email me, we'll open up the phone lines and let somebody else call in. And again, thanks for taping, Wayne.
And thank you, Keith, for putting on an outstanding show us wrestling fans absolutely love.
Okay, we'll talk more about that in the future. Hey, thanks, Wayne. That's Wayne Beaver, third place finisher at the PIAAs in 1981 for New Oxford High. He was also the elementary coach this past year at Littlestown, the Littlestown Youth Wrestling Organization, and he's a really good guy. I wanted to get Wayne off because I knew that some other people might want to call in here at High School Wrestling. Again, it was Wayne Beaver. He shot this good footage. Well, we rolled back to that, and we were watching at the end of it, right where we left Wayne. We were watching Matt Kelly from the Glen Rock area, and Matt wrestled for Susquehannock this past year, and we had watched Jason Holler and talked about the Junior Olympics and the Mawa tournament itself in general. How do you qualify? I know there's different Mawa qualifying tournaments here and around the area. And I believe ours local was the Susquehannock. You qualify at that tournament over there in Glen Rock, and then you move on to the Millersville, the regional tournament. And if you finish in the top 4 at Millersville this year, you went on to the East Stroudsburg, which was the Eastern National tournament. And there's Matt Kelly in the red singlet. Took a tough loss here in the quarterfinals. One of the many different states from the East Coast, basically all the states on the East Coast, New York, New Jersey, obviously Pennsylvania, New England states and stuff all send qualifiers up to this tournament from different regions. There's an East, Northeast, South, and West qualifier for this national overall qualifier for the AA Amateur Athletic Union, I believe, what they call either Middle Atlantic Wrestling Association, or I think it's Middle Atlantic Wrestling Association, Mawa, as the lingo has become called. Basically a series of spring tournaments, post-season or post-high school season, just to show that there's actually wrestling going on now. And even Scott, they're all getting ready for race night. Scott, your host, was asking me, "Hey, dude, isn't that season over already?" And I said, "Well, unfortunately, Scott, unfortunately or unfortunately, how you want to look at it nowadays, all your high school sports are practically 24 hours, not 24 hours, but certainly 12 months a year. And some kids like Matt, I don't know if he's a football player or if he's a cross-country runner. He might run cross-country in the fall, or I know some wrestlers that are golfers and stuff, and some of their football players. Certainly, I'm partial to football myself as a second sport if you're a wrestler, especially if you're an upper weight wrestler or anywhere above 140 pounds locally around here and all. You can play both sports, high school football. They're both complementary training routines, complementary strengths in both and weaknesses in both. Some of the other, as we mentioned earlier, Dwayne Bastress won a Eastern National title from Bermudian Springs. Congratulations, Dwayne, on that win. Dwayne, you all remember him from past 3 years, 4 years locally here from Bermudian High. He'll be graduating, and we wish him the best of luck this spring and summer and next fall if you're going off to school and stuff. Give us a call here. We got about a couple of 1-2 minutes. We can take maybe one quick call in here. High School Wrestling, ACTV. If you want to get in touch with me, you're watching Matt Kelly from Glen Rock down there at Susquehannock High School, wrestling at East Stroudsburg. We're live on the 24th of April, so if it's any day but Tuesday, the 24th of April, don't call in. But if you got a minute, give us a quick call if you want to ask a quick question. Some of the other, Chris Pomeranian, I'm not sure of his place, but Tyler Reese from Dillsburg, northern area, won the Eastern National Heavyweight Championship. And others locally, Jason Holler, we saw earlier. Here's Matt trying to get on a. Or is this, we moved on, we might have moved on now to Dwayne Bastress, I think.
Which one?
Sort of familiar blonde hair, Dwayne, that very familiar shoot almost. He gets very low, lowest level. He won in the elite division, 152, I believe, or about around 150 pounds, which was his wrestling weight this past season. Glad to see he kept wrestling. He lost out the regional tournament, didn't place in top 5, missed out in the state tournament, which is kind of a shocker. Kind of was certainly thought Dwayne would make states this past year, but had a tough weight class there at Penn Manor. It was a tough day, 2 days of wrestling, and a lot of tough guys in his weight class. Went on to win this Eastern National and a trip to Florida, I believe. So let's see, we're still got a couple more minutes here before we move over and give Scott and the guys at Race Night here the studio take over. If you want to give us a call, we'll be wrapping up the high school wrestling show in about in a couple of weeks yet. We got a couple more tournaments, and we'll get it through the freestyle tournament in May, and then the National High School Coaches Dual Meet tournament coming up Memorial Day weekend. That'll probably be about it till we have one final program I'll try to tape with Tom Elling of the Pennsylvania Network. He also talking about football. Maybe he'll tell us about his plans for the football newsletter and also the high school wrestling newsletter that's available. And So we're as we watch out Dwayne's match here, we'll come back next week. We're going to try to fill out about a half an hour of wrestling here. We're still taking calls. If you want to give us a quick call here yet, got about 3 minutes to go tonight. Mawa tournament, East Stroudsburg. I have a couple more matches. Got Chris Pomeranian, Charlie Walls. We have a good match from him. Another match from Mike Anderson, and match of Corey Beaver. Maybe next week we can get to him. Maybe get some more freestyle instruction. Maybe looking to move it a week. We'll have a grab bag of shows here, grab bag of topics we can touch on next week while we're waiting for the freestyle tournament at Gettysburg High School. May 19th, freestyle tournament. If you haven't practiced it, get on up, join the Freestyle Greco Club, Freestyle and Greco Cumberland Club, which Coach Lease, Tuesday and Thursday this week at Gettysburg High. Come join. Tournament's not that 3 weeks away. You can join and learn enough. If you're a regular wrestler, you can learn enough freestyle or Greco to enter that tournament. It's for fun. It's not really for don't worry about how you place. Just come on out and participate. It's best to keep your skills up, learn some new skills. High school wrestling's one way, freestyle Greco's another. You get to learn some fun skills, throws, different ways that you can wrestle, and you can translate it to the scholastic side. So come on up. We'll see you next week. It's 7 o'clock, April 24th, and Dwayne pins his man, and that'll be it. Bye-bye, folks.